This tutorial is an overview of the German political system, and as you can see from this chart here, it's in fact a parliamentary system. So the people elect the legislation, and the legislative bodies elect the executive that produces public policy and so on. This democratic steering chain will look very, very similar to the United Kingdom, to that system used by the United Kingdom, the Westminster model. But there are some important differences here. First of all, unlike the United Kingdom, Germany is a federal system. So you have a basic law that divides power between states and the federal government. Unlike Britain and France, they're both unitary states. You have power for policy in a wide range of areas for these states. They're called Länder. And they administer most national laws and most programs for the federal government. You'll also have a situation where many leaders started in state governments. So that's the power of the subnational level of government in this German federal system, unlike what you'd find in Britain and France. So this then is a federal parliamentary system. Looking back at other cases that we have in this course, the United States is a federal presidential system. The United Kingdom is a unitary parliamentary system. France is a semi-presidential unitary system. And Germany is a federal parliamentarian system. So there's all these combinations. I mentioned the basic law. This is effectively Germany's constitution, but it's called the basic law. It guarantees political, social, economic rights and has a strong independent legislature to check the government. So here it's really a check on government power that's informed by, of course, what happened during the Third Reich. So this federal constitutional court is a tool to make sure that the constitutional rights of citizens and the integrity of the constitution is maintained. And this court hears cases involving the constitutionality of state and federal laws and can review laws passed without other legal proceedings and so on. So it's quite a significant body, arguably more significant than its equivalent in France. So looking back at the political system here, first of all, we have the electoral system. The people elect the members of the legislation, and this is not a plurality system. This is MMP, which is the mixed member plurality vote. And that's a highly complex system where each voter gets two ballots. One is for a individual candidate in a riding, and the other is for a party according to party lists. And through a fairly complex mechanism, you achieve effectively proportional representation. So that's what's going on here. But it also has a 5% limit, so that small parties actually can't get into the Bundestag. The legislative assembly is divided into two chambers, so it's again a bicameral system, which has the Bundestag and the Bundesrat. And the Bundestag is the representative of the people directly. They serve, members in this chamber serve on 4-year terms, and they are the powers of this parliamentary chamber is limited like that of the UK's parliament. Here it uses a constructive vote of no confidence. So again, you need to actually propose a motion of non-confidence, but not only that, you have to present, when you do that, also what the alternative to the current government policy should be, which makes it really difficult to get a no confidence vote passed. Only 2 has been presented since 1949, only 1 has passed. Party groups play a very important role in the functioning of the legislature, and of course the committee system is where the real action takes place. The Bundesrat is where states have direct representation in government. These states select these representatives, and they can only delay legislation that would not have a direct impact on the state. But a lot of bills do have a direct impact on the state, and that gives the Bundesrat quite a bit of power. it must approve all that legislation. And it's interestingly enough often controlled by the opposition to the government. So this is a situation there with when a piece of legislation affects states directly, then these chambers are quite strong. Um, so it's a situation of, certainly it's not as strong a check on executive power as the American Congress is on the president, because of course of the constructive vote of no confidence, it doesn't have, it's a parliamentary system, so it doesn't have that power. But the upper chamber is more powerful than in Germany than it would be in the United Kingdom. So the Bundesrat is more powerful than the House of Lords, for example. The executive is really important and quite powerful in Germany, which is why it's called the Chancellor Democracy. The head of the state is the president, who is elected by the legislature, but this position is mostly symbolic. Formally signs bills and treaties, can refuse to sign unconstitutional laws, but this is very uncommonly to invoke, and oversees the forming of government and calls elections. But the real power is with the head of government in this system. So in this sense, there are a lot of similarities to the system of the United Kingdom, where of course the head of the state, the Queen, is mostly symbolic as well. So here is where the real power is, the head of government, the Chancellor. That's why it's called the Chancellor Democracy. So there is a fusion of the executive and legislative power in Chancellor and Cabinet, because of course it's a parliamentary system. And this large staff then provides opportunity for wide oversight, and there is also opportunity to develop expertise within the Chancellor's cabinet among the civil servants. Moving on to public policy. This country has a long tradition of powerful senior civil servants, going back to the ideas of Rechtsstaat in German tradition. So this goes back centuries. The immediate problem after the Second World War was, of course, to denazify the bureaucracy. The problem was that a whole lot of the members of the bureaucracy at that point had actually either voluntarily or been compelled to get Nazi party membership because of the totalitarian structure in of the regime, which meant that if you wanted to keep things running in Germany, have civil service that is actually functioning after the war, the process first starting with denazifying the bureaucracy, and then there was the issue of renazifying, because many of the competent civil servants that were needed to run things had been party members. It's a strongly decentralized system. 90% of the civil service are state employees, and government passed laws during the late 60s and early 70s to restrict the entry of alleged radicals into the civil service at all levels. And this was not only to check right-wing extremism, but also to check left-wing extremism, because of course of the Rote Armee-Fraktion, a terrorist organization, communist terrorist organization, that caused quite a bit of a political crisis and so on. The current challenges. There is an election in Germany coming up, and Merkel's popularity has dropped since the 2009 election. Of course, the one major issue here is Germany's position within the Eurozone and Germany's management of the Eurozone crisis. Whoever wins this election have to maintain the economic upswing of the last few years and deal with the continued fallout of the Eurozone crisis. Merkel here is a very interesting individual, not only the first woman chancellor, but also the first Ossi, so the first person born in East Germany who has served as chancellor. And it might very well be so that East-West relations are becoming normalized within Germany. And I've asked here a question: how does Germany's troubled history still affect its political culture and the rest of its political life? Which is a very interesting question to ask, given the recent NSA scandal. Of course, a lot of people growing up and coming of age in Eastern Germany will remember how the Eastern German secret police, the Stasi, kept extensive files on all citizens for the purpose of totalitarian control and terror. Germany's relations to the United States and the surveillance program of the United States in electronic surveillance can very well become a real issue in German politics as well, because of course, with a history of both a fascist totalitarian regime and a communist totalitarian regime, the Germans are all too familiar with what the state can do if it is allowed to do things without checks and balances. So this was an overview of Germany's political system. It's a federal system, fairly decentralized. It has a stronger court than France. It has a parliamentary system like the United Kingdom, and it has a Bundesrat that's more powerful than the House of Lords or the French Senate. And I hope that was useful.